poetry meets a real conversation. My name is Tamara Rockwood. I am coming at you from Bainbridge Island. If you are a returning listener, you know that we balance serious literary discussion with accessible conversation. We're not afraid of complexity, but we don't hide behind it either. Are you new to poetry? That is great. You will find both points and deep recurrence here. This is episode 32, and we have built something different here. Whether you've come armed with a degree in literature or you're just curious about verse, we create space for both analysis and for genuine human response. Smart conversations about poetry that really feel like they matter. When we're not recording, Ben and I are running Bainbridge Island Press. We are publishing poetry. We are getting it into hands. But Poetics is where we get to talk about why this art form still matters and why it is more relevant than ever. So today, we're exploring how these great poems break through and create genuine human connection. We're looking at poetry that surprises us, challenges us, and reminds us why language has power. So, grab your favorite drink, grab your favorite pillow. Let's dive in. We're about to explore how this ancient art form manages to stay both timeless and completely current. This is Poetics Podcast. So today we're going to be discussing a poem by a poet who is around and thriving, and I'm very nervous about it because he's just an amazing poet. And but the reason why I'm going to be discussing Dr. Benjamin Myers' poetry today is because I featured one of his books on my Twitter page, my X page, for the Seeley Challenge. And if you remember a couple weeks ago, I mentioned what the Seeley Challenge was, and it was this hashtag Seeley Challenge, and you read one book of poetry every day during the month of August. And so there's quite a few books that I was able to pull off my shelf and reread, or if I bought them and I didn't read them, then I read them. I don't know why you would buy a book and not read it. That's absurd. But anyways, I have a stack of those that I'm like, I'm going to get around to. So we started with Wallace Stevens of Modern Poetry, which was fascinating. There's another one that I featured on the Seeley Challenge, and it was a book called Deaf Republic by Isla Kaminsky. That was an astonishingly fascinating book, and I loved it. I also touched on Zero Meridian by Deborah Warren. Wonderful book. It's just beautiful writing and inspiring beyond words. Anyways, there's quite a few. And the thing is, I read Black Sunday by Dr. Benjamin Myers, and I'm going to talk about that one today. So, really quick, little bio on Benjamin Myers. If you haven't read his book, if you don't have his books, you should buy his books. They are available everywhere. I have Black Sunday. So, he works at Oklahoma Baptist University. He is the director of Oklahoma Baptist University's Great Books Honors Program. He is the author of 4 books of poetry and 2 books of nonfiction. I'm reading this from his bio page, so you can read the bio page. I did not write this. He was the 2015-2016 Poet Laureate of the state of Oklahoma. His poems have appeared in the Yale Review, the Christian Century, Rattle, many other widely circulating journals. He has written many essays, including for First Things, the Gospel Coalition, the American Conservative. He's a member of a Chandler First Baptist Church where he teaches adult Bible study, and he serves as a deacon. He has a PhD from the Washington University in St. Louis. He has wonderful accolades. There's much more than this. please go and find him. Go find Benjamin Myers. So one of the books that I have of his is called Black Sunday, and it is subtitled The Dust Bowl Sonnets. And that was published by Lamar University Press. So first I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to talk about it. Lily Worries About Her Daughter by Benjamin Myers. The windmill spins its shadow on Bare Yard, where Louise sits drawing pictures in dirt. I watch through the dusty kitchen window. The thing I worry most about is her. She has a hardness in her ways. She draws these little houses, little barns, and fields, then scoops up little fistfuls of dirt and drops it on the Oaklahoma she just made. The thing I fret the most about is her. I run the dampened cloth across her face. At night, wring it over the porcelain bowl. The water's brown before I've washed her ears. She doesn't seem to know she wears the dust, or that she's the thing that worries me the most. Just to start, before I get into anything else, you know what's really interesting about this is when I read it from the mother's perspective. Lily worries about her daughter. And we have clues in there that also suggest that this is from the mother's perspective. There, she is looking through the dusty kitchen window. She is washing her face at night. But if we get rid of the title, if we don't say that it's Lily, this could very, very easily be a father. It doesn't say anything specific in the poem. It was just, if you get rid of it, it just, who is worried about her? So anyways, it is Lily, and she's worrying about her daughter. I just thought that was interesting. I like this poem because of the land, because of the mother-daughter relationship. Lily never says anything to her daughter. Her daughter never says anything. We are seeing the emotional scene through actions, and I think that that is extremely powerful because of its silence. So this poem is capturing a mother's anxiety through a sonnet that is written about the Dust Bowl. She's watching her daughter play in the devastated Oklahoma landscape. There's this intimate act of observing her daughter drawing farms in the dirt, only to bury them. Lily is recognizing something troubling developing in her child. There's a hardness that it parallels the environmental catastrophes surrounding them. This poem is revealing how this ecological disaster shapes human character, particularly in children who adapt to harsh realities and then becoming hardened themselves. It's such a very delicate way of showing how that's done. Some of the interesting things about the language that's used in this poem is the phrase, "The thing I worry most about is her." This functions almost like a prayer. I think that it is functioning like a prayer. There are slight variations in this repetitive refrain. The thing I fret the most about is her. She's the thing that worries me the most. This is an intensity of the mother's obsessive concern while creating a rhythmic anchor for the poem. And then there's Myers' sensory language. There's the dampened cloth. There's the porcelain bowl. There's the brown water. But aren't those completely contrasting with the little fistfuls of dirt and how everything is hard and dry outside? And I think that that is very interesting because we have life inside the house. The mother's inside the house. The dampened cloth is inside the house. The bowl containing the water is inside the house. That is where her daughter is cared for. But outside, she's drawing, I mean, you could say she's drawing the future, but she's drawing what she knows in the dirt. And then taking these little fistfuls of dirt and obliterating what she can see. And this just makes me feel the grit and the moisture that are conflicting with each other. And it's transforming that worry into a physical sensation in such a gentle way, in such a simple way. And then there is the child's unconscious destruction. This language that Myers is using is mirroring Louise's actions through active verbs, draws and scoops and drops. And it's followed by the simplicity of she's dropping it onto the Oklahoma she just made, where Oklahoma becomes both a metaphor for the collapse, the environmental collapse around her, but also it was her imagination. What can she imagine as a child? She can only imagine everything being wiped out. It's just so sad. So with the meter and measure. So Myers is masterful in writing and his measure, and the lines actually vary dramatically from 18 to 14 syllables. Why? Why would you do that? Is it creating a sense of restlessness? Is it creating a sense of disorder within a form of order? Don't we use form as a way to put order into chaos? What does grief feel like? It's all over the place. If we put it into a form, if we put it into a sonnet, if we put it into couplets, it becomes something recognizable, something that we can finally digest. And this irregularity in the lines is creating a sense of distress. It is restlessness that reflects Lily's anxiety. The form itself feels unsettled. It cannot find comfort in the regular patterns. The lines speak as a line, but there is enjambment that Myers uses to create suspension of the line. The key breaks are occurring mid-thought, so she draws these little houses. These little houses are separate from her. And then she drops it on the Oklahoma she creates. The Oklahoma and the houses, they are separate. And this mimics how worry interrupts normal thinking patterns. It is creating visual pauses that emphasize this mother's hesitation. There is internal rhyme and assonance that he's using, like there's very subtle words like dirt and her, bowl and most about Oklahoma. He's creating this musicality and a coherence beneath this structure, and it is just suggesting underlying order within this chaos. So it's a conversational structure. It is a conversation about how worry moves through a mother's mind. It's not linear. It doesn't feel linear to me when I worry. It is circular. It's repetitive. It returns obsessively to the same concern. What is her concern? It's her daughter. Her daughter worries her the most. She's outside. She's playing with the dirt. She's creating little towns. She's destroying little towns. I'm not worried about the towns. I'm worried about her. That's a cycle. That's going to continue. Also, there's an absence of traditional stanzas that Myers is reflecting the way that anxiety doesn't organize itself neatly. He's watching, remembering, reflecting. This is the poem's breathing patterns. It is short, clipped observations, followed by longer, more complex sentences, and it feels like it is a speech pattern of someone working through difficult emotions. Naturally, I'm going to think of Seamus Heaney when I think of land poetry. And both Heaney and Myers are treating the landscape as both this literal place and this psychological terrain. The dust becomes a character in the poem. I think of Heaney's bog in his poem Punishment, or the earth in Digging. Both of these poets understand how environmental conditions are shaping human identity. Heaney's peat bog is preserving ancient violence. Myers' dust is creating contemporary hardness. This poem just is so frustrating because it's beautiful. And, naturally as a poet, I'm like, I could do it myself. No, I'm trying. I'm fine. I'm okay. But this is just such an inspiring way of using something profound about how this environmental crisis affects family relationships. Isn't that interesting? How do the children adapt to these impossible circumstances? By developing a protective hardness. How do the parents recognize this adaptation as both necessary and heartbreaking? The specificity of Oklahoma that Myers is familiar with makes this a universal poem, and it is a timeless poem. So the question after all of this, after I have talked about how this poem resonates and how it reminds me of Seamus Heaney and how enjambment creates suspension, after we've talked about all of that, why does it matter? And I think that's a relevant question because if I never read this at all in my life, would I still live a good life? Yeah, I would. What is the purpose of art? Why are we doing this at all? There is a necessity that we have to live and create that is beyond just survival. And I think that needs to be emphasized. We need to live and create beyond entertainment. And I think especially now, that needs to be emphasized. There's a million things that I think of, and some I am able to apply, and some I'm able to work on, and some are just great ideas that lead me down a path that leads to something else. But the shadow of what I have started with and had to let go of due to the evolution of the project, the shadow of that is still there. So One of them that I really thought was brilliant, but I just couldn't make it anything larger than this thought that just transferred into other things. So Calypso is in the Odyssey. You might recognize her. What's interesting is she is the daughter of Atlas. Atlas was a Titan. There was a battle between the Titans and the gods, and because the gods wanted to have equal power as the Titans, and the Titans said they disagreed with that idea, and then the gods won. And then the Titans were punished for it. So Atlas's punishment was to hold up the heavens for eternity. And there's a picture or painting that was made, and he's holding up the world, and that's not entirely the way he's actually holding up the heavens. Calypso is his daughter, and she was banished to the Isle of Ogygia, and her curse, her purpose was to divert men away from their goals. How can that not be the most interesting thing that I have read all year? Because that is such a problem. I think it's a problem. I can't speak for everyone, but isn't that a problem that we have of being bombarded with so many things that take up our time and our minds and our hearts and our actions, that we are diverted from our goals? What are our goals? Everyone has different goals. But I don't want to sound pedantic, but things like, watching TikTok is not a goal in life. Except for the people who use that as a way of work. And so, I can't speak for them, but also I don't think that I have many influencers that are following me on this. How often are we distracted and entertained by the news, by ads, by diversions, by stupid stories that we see? Scrolling, honestly, I like scrolling because it actually is really quick, and you see things from your friends, you see things from other people, you see things from the news. It's a lot quicker, but it's not sitting down. It's like there's different, that's a different room. You read that room in a different way than you read the room if you're opening the paper. It's like different situations, and that's fine. But every morning I go through the news with my kids, and they're like, what's in the news today? I'm like, actually, it's just a whole bunch of diversions. Today, the only thing that's in the news is this celebrity couple got divorced. I don't know who they are. So I don't know why we know. I don't know why there's a news article about it. But that's entertainment. That's a distraction. This other one just lost a whole bunch of weight. Good for them. Also, not sure why I need to know. Just all of these like little things. I'm like, that's not news. Is not helping me. Like what's happening in Washington State? No, I know that Taylor Swift is engaged. So happy for her. That's wonderful. I don't own any of her albums, but everyone else in the world does, so I'm not too worried about it. She, wonderful singer, very talented, great businesswoman. I have nothing bad to say about her. Anyways, that being said, so, I could go on for probably an hour of all of the distractions that we have during the day from what is really important. And on one hand, it's kind of heartbreaking because we try so hard to stay focused and stay genuine and stay authentic and say the right things and be kind and eat the right things and keep our health up and take a walk every day. It's just never ending. But then we also just have people falling off docks and who, thankfully, hopefully they're okay. But there's so many stupid videos, and they're unavoidable unless you just keep everything closed, and it's an endless cycle. And maybe it's this endless cycle of worry that I can feel that Lily has. It's this cyclical worry of watching. My kids, fortunately, are not interested in that. They have phones, but they're very tightly locked, and so they aren't interested in social media. They aren't interested in scrolling, and ironically, the phones are used to call and to communicate with people, but still, they are in a world that is different than the world that I lived in. I mean, I was raised in the very early 80s, late 70s, and I had a stick. And, it's like you get on your bike and you go, there was a field that a couple blocks away from my house. We spent an inordinate amount of time, finding wild gourds and throwing them at each other. The world is quite different now. I think that I would be charged with parental neglect if my kids went to an empty field and threw gourds at each other all day. So, and it wasn't that long ago. And so it's this worry that, are we going to be okay? And Myers doesn't spend time answering the question. He doesn't spend time even developing it. He just shows you. She sees what her daughter is doing, and she sees that her daughter has a hardness. And when she's saying that, you can assume that this is not a teenager. It's like, this is a little kid. And how devastating to know that this hardness is in a little kid. So that is why I wanted to feature Dr. Benjamin Myers' poem now, because he captures something really profound and meaningful, and it was a scene that I could see very easily, and I could feel very acutely, and I'm very grateful that I was able to read this poem, because it means that I'm not alone in this worry, in this cyclical maternal worry, that maybe the future is not going to be as Eden as we would like it. But maybe it is. I also have an inordinate amount of optimism that I have faith in the kids that they're going to build the world that is better. And I can argue that for years as well. So, anyways, that's poetry. Is it? Isn't it? It will talk to you one way or another. And so I'm very grateful for this poem. So Dr. Benjamin Myers, thank you very much. I really loved his poem. And that's it for today. So if you've enjoyed diving into the world of verse with us, please join us next time. We've got more poets to meet, more poems to explore. We've got more literary adventures to share. So until then, keep reading, keep writing, and keep poetry close to your heart. Thank you for joining Poetics Podcast, where we bring poetry to life, one verse at a time.